So if you read about quantum physics, you'll often see referenced the observer, as in the act of observing will alter the behaviour of particles, thus altering the perception of reality based on that point of view, that reference point of the observer. Consider the possibility that that centre point, that sense of the observer, or that idea, is what is obscuring the true nature of experience, the true nature of reality. Does the observer actually exist? Or is that the fundamental flaw in perception? Okay. So let's talk about, or let's do some inquiring into the nature of reality, specifically the nature of self, the nature of this individual, separate character, moving separately through the world, relating to the world. So do you feel like you are an individual? Do you feel like what you are is a discrete entity that lives in this body, in this physical body, in this head and mind behind the eyes? Do you feel separate from the world? Do you feel like something independent of the world, separate, moving through it, relating to it? Does that feel inherently uncomfortable? Does it feel inherently frightening? Is there a lot of fear, suffering, inherently existing in that way of living? Initially, this is something that we wouldn't even question, because it seems so obvious that yes, I am this separate body, I am this separate person. What I am is this discrete entity, separate from the world, living inside this body, relating to the world. But if we're honest, that doesn't make any sense. It seems so obvious, and the world will confirm that as a reality. But something in us feels that that's not right. What is this question that can't be answered? What is this? Why am I here? What is life? What am I? This mystery, this unanswerable question that sometimes is overt in experience, and most of the time we overlook, we ignore by focusing on the content of experience and the objective world. Distractions. If you're like me, you had this existential fear, this question that couldn't be answered, something that you could not control, some knowledge that's missing. What is this? Why am I here? I'm gonna die. There's something not right about that. I'm going to not exist. What happens after death? Why can't I remember before birth? Something's not right about that, the way we're perceiving ourselves and reality. Could it be that there is no birth and no death? Could it be that there is no time or separation? These will easily become concepts if they are taken on by the mind. That's why we have to come to the realization that there is suffering. There is this gnawing question in the back of our minds. Something's not right. Something about this is not right. I'm not content. There's something missing. Why are there so many questions that the mind can't answer? What is this mystery that I can't control? It has to get to the point where we see that using the intellect, using thought, reason, and concepts has failed and is not going to work from what we're talking about here. It's that recognition that that's never worked. Sometimes you just have to continue with that for a while and really, really see that it doesn't work. It doesn't get any better. Might for a while, but it doesn't. That question cannot be answered by the mind. There's no satisfying conclusion. So what's not a conclusion? This isn't in the realm of something you're going to get in the future. This isn't in the realm of conclusions, concepts, thought and belief. You could say that all of those appear within this, are secondary to this. What is primary to all of that? Get in touch with that existential question, that fear. What is this? Why don't I know what's going on? That's the building block upon which all suffering is created. What's the most obvious thing in your experience? What's the most undoubtable thing in your experience? For me, I could say there is an experience. I am having an experience. Who is the I that's having the experience? Can you find that I, that self, that me, without referencing the mind? Without using the mind to describe the nature of experience? Because these descriptions are conclusive. And we've already discussed that. This isn't a conclusion. This isn't, the mind will never be satisfied with this. You can go, you can try it for yourself, you can go, you can follow the mind and see where it takes you. And that labyrinth never ends. And the conclusion that it's looking for, the satisfaction, the answer that it's looking for, will never be reached. It's not possible. But if you want, you can continue with that and see where you end up. But if you've done that already and you're here, you're ready to explore direct experience, explore the nature of yourself beyond thought, beyond the mind, beyond concepts, beyond this separate physical entity, then we can do that. It turns out that you don't need to escape from that labyrinth of the mind. There's no escape. All that's required is a simple, obvious recognition of what already is. The answer is right here. The answer to all the suffering is right here. You're looking at it. You're looking from it. One thing I would say is don't believe thought. It's not the thought that is the problem, because the thought isn't the result of a discrete entity in here, an autonomous entity that is in control of thoughts. If we want to prove that to ourselves, we will just decide, I choose not to think for the next hour, and then see how you get on with that. Thoughts just happen on their own. They don't refer to anything that's real. They are a reflection of reality, and they are caused by multiple conditions, innumerable, impossible to understand. They just happen. You can't control them. If you resist them, you try and quiet the mind, that things will get worse. Become more interested in what is a thought rather than the content of that thought. Now, rather than focusing on the content of the thought, you maybe notice that when you get pulled into a mind narrative, there's a numbing effect, there's a distance from the immediate sensory experience. There's a pulling into, a closing into the mind that feels quite claustrophobic and uncomfortable. Now we're just going to dilate our attention, our experience. Dilate it out. Don't resist anything. Bring your senses into the forefront of your experience, openly, including thoughts, and ask yourself, what will be the next thought? And wait. If there's a gap there, without thought, you're still here when the thought isn't present. What are you that's here in the absence of thought? As the thought comes, look at it, move towards it, and ask, what is that thought? Not with the mind, just open clarity. What am I that knows this thought? And the next one, what am I that knows this thought? The thought is a kind of ethereal, ghost-like apparition, a reflection of our experience in the mind. You can't find it. What's more obvious than thought? This immediate sensory experience. What am I that knows this experience? And am I separate from it? To clarify this, we can ask, to who do these thoughts refer? Turn your attention directly inwards and look for that to which the thought refers, this entity. Can it be found in experience other than a thought? Or is it itself another thought? This body that I am in, I call my own. How do I know this is my body? Without thought. Is it your body? Without thought. Does it feel like it? This is when we have to be very focused in our approach. Recognizing what is a thought, what is not a thought. What is a thought? And what is not a thought? Am I experiencing a reality through the perceptual filter of thought, colouring my experience, making it look a certain way? What would the world look like? What would my experience look like if it wasn't filtered through thought, through the mind? If these deeply held assumptions about my problems relating to me, what if there is no me? What if there never was? You can't take that and accept it as truth based on what I say. You have to look for yourself. Who did the thoughts refer to? Can you find yourself? What do you call yourself? What do you refer to when you say, I think this, I see that? What is looking? What is looking through your eyes? What is hearing? You call this your experience? You call this me? Have you ever questioned that directly and looked and thought, what am I that knows this? Can I find it? Now this is when the mind will distract you. Before the mind quiets, it'll go mental and it will try and bait you into identifying with a thought and narrative that says something about your experience, says something about what's going on. And this is where the practice comes in. This is where the disidentification comes in. We can surely say that what I am is not thought. Then why do I need to think to confirm myself? Why do I need to think to validate or confirm my experience? To orient myself in a reality that is already happening? Is thought secondary? Does it come after experience? Is thought, past or future, a response to experience? Would the thoughts about my problems and me and how I relate to the world, indeed my entire experience, exist, be possible without the knowing of it, without the awareness of it? And what can we say is primary about what I call me? Is it this person? Is it this limited entity with a story in its mind about how it relates to the world? Or is it simply this? Is it simply something that can't be understood by the mind because the mind appears as an object within it? The mind appears after what's already happening. What is already here? What is always here? What doesn't change? The nature of experience is constantly changing, yet I seem to have not changed. I seem to always be here at the centre of experience. What is that I without the mind? The thoughts will come in, it will try and explain and say, yes, I am this body, I am blah 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 blah, and start talking. It's not that. That's just a thought. You begin to see it's amazing what is a thought. What turns out everything's a thought. Apart from what isn't. And what isn't a thought, I can't say anything about. But you're looking from it right now. You're experiencing it right now. Get in touch with that. What am I that knows thought? What am I without thought? What am I before thought? What am I? What is this? If we try and resist thoughts with the mind, we're assuming a me that resists something. We're reinforcing that circuit. This is a dilation, a relaxation, an opening up. An acceptance of whatever the mind says without the belief, without the identification. without the investment in it. Because when I say anything about my life, when I say anything about anything, I'm automatically, and I believe that, I'm automatically assuming this entity, this discrete entity living in the head, made from thought. See how much of that is a thought. See what is not a thought. Is the one who is thinking also a thought? Look and see. This can be really easy. Who thinks the thought? Can you find yourself? This self that's been having all these problems throughout his life, that brought it here to this video, to try and end the problem or find a solution. Where is it? Is it just an assumption? Was it ever there in the first place? Or is that just an idea, a concept, an interpretation, an illusion generated by the mind? What is this experience without thought? What is the most obvious thing in my experience? What is here and isn't here at the same time? Where am I looking from? What is it that knows this experience? This has to be felt into because it can't turn into a concept. This is completely non-conceptual. Anything the mind says about this isn't it. In one way, I can't even talk about this. I can only vaguely point towards it. But can you sense it? Can you feel it? Can you feel what I'm talking about? Can you feel the mystery in this immediate present reality that inspired this question in the first place? Go straight into that, and it might be scary. In fact, it probably will. But just stick with it. Because if it's going to happen, it will happen anyway. You can't control it. Even if you decide to watch this video, seem to decide to do some inquiry, you aren't deciding to do it, it's just happening. It's happening anyway, it's already happened. This isn't a new understanding, this is just what you are anyway. All it takes is to see through the veil of illusion that's obscuring that. And then we can see that nothing has to be done, nothing has to be chased, nothing has to be gained. Everything's perfect the way it is. It's the adding to that's a problem. It's that basic separation from experience, from reality. That duality at the heart of all interpretation and perception that's the problem. In a way, we're expanding out, dilating, but at the same time we're leading right into the experience. That fine balance of openness and focus. If you can hold it there, don't fight the mind. Just look at what is a thought. What is that? Experience that thought with as much overt clarity as possible, as acutely as possible, with as much curiosity and intrigue as possible. Because the answer to this is not an answer of the mind, and it's already here. It's in your experience right now. It is the experience itself. You have to stop. You have to come to a standstill. Stop moving. The mind is movement. The mind is direction, objectivity, subjectivity. Just stop. Just stop dead. That restlessness will come up. That fear will come up. Just go right through it. Or just stay where you are. Would be a better way of putting it. Anyway, that'll do for now. Talk to you next time.